We are alive. Seemingly. Okay, and here we go. Oh, hello, Frisky. Yes. Well, it's not bendy this time. I found a game which is called The Road, and I donated to them, and it seems to be a nice game. I never played this sort of game before. It's hang on, let me put on my camera here. I watched someone play not this game but some other game which is based on ambience, immersion, text, and ambient pictures, like brief illustrations like here, and it was amazing to watch this Let's Play several years back. And when I saw this game, I decided I just needed to give this a shot. So the prologue, to my understanding, is that we are... God dang, I missed your stream because of that. GROTC. GROTC. Is that the school? Oh yeah. The prologue to this game is supposedly we are on a trip in Europe with our wife and 2 children. And we seem to get lost all the time. We can't find the road to the bed and breakfast or the hotel where we booked in, and it's like 9 p.m. I think it said. And finally we were convinced this is the road. But suddenly we hit something, and that's where this starts, to my understanding. Also, I just realized when I played Bendy, I didn't have my trusty lantern on by my side to light up my face. So there will be more light this time around. Now, let us see. Start game. Yes, no. Well, there's no backing out of this now. I click enter maybe. Okay, game starting. You, your wife, and your 2 kids are on vacation in the European countryside. So the prologue starts now. I read this prologue when I downloaded the game. After getting lost a few times, you are certain that this is finally the correct road to the bed and breakfast you booked. The time is now 9:03 p.m. You hear a loud stutter and your rental car comes to a rolling stop. What do you do? So we get our first choice. Call for help on your cell phone or get out of the car. No, JROTC is a Marine Corps like class. It is my substitution PE credit. Okay. Starting with the tough choices right off the start. Yeah. High school sure is an arse, isn't it? I went through a different school system in my country. Whenever my English teachers would refer to high school, they would refer to our secondary school in our school system, and some others would refer to our tertiary school, and it would just be a tiny bit controversial. I'm a bit back and forth. So, but yeah. What should we do? Our car comes to a rolling stop. So I suppose a rolling stop is like the engine died or so. We didn't hit anything then. So what we do, we get out of the car, don't we? We investigate a little bit first, don't we? Let's go for getting out of the car. It's like playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something like this with 2 options, and things taking a morbid turn. Other than not winning money, we might lose our lives even. You get out of the car, there's nothing but forest to your left and right. I feel like I've made a wrong choice already. In front of you lies open road. What do you do? This is a point and type click of game. Not entirely point and click to my understanding. It's more like choice based. There's a story and you make a choice, and the story develops depending on all your choices. We don't want to seem helpless. Yeah, we probably should call. I don't know what sort of road this is. This was like a labyrinth, middle of nowhere, late at night. Also, I just realized you see the two lines in the middle of the road. I suppose those means you cannot pass. You cannot pass a slow car. You aren't allowed to cross that line under any circumstances. At first, it looked like it was like someone dug up there or something, like there was a rift. But it's a low resolution painting. Just wait for work life, then you will wish you were back in school. I used to hate school so much. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I wanted to be an electrician, if I wanted to go IT, or what I wanted. So I just kept doing like the general, just everything, like theoretics of everything, and like, oh no, even more theoretic stuff. And I hated it. But after being in work life a bit, I actually got more interest in school. But I think I'm getting too old slowly. So, you get out of the car, there's nothing but forest to your left and right. In front of you lies open road. What do? I feel like following the road is the best. We shouldn't stray off path. As a horror game called Miasmata perfectly illustrates, straying off path can turn to be quite deadly. Like, if even people who are known to orienting themselves in forests and so can suddenly lose path and they can't find their way back. It's surprising how easy this actually is. Of course, I don't know how dense this forest is now, but we will walk forward. Don't do this to me. I just want to enjoy my weekend. Weekend is the best. For those that don't work in weekends. I don't work in weekends myself. I enjoy the time off. But of course, if one works during the weekend, then you have other days off usually. The road on that picture looks like it could lead to Silent Hill. I don't know much about Silent Hill. I regretfully haven't played it yet, but I have heard that you enter a fog and then you're sort of trapped in this weird town. Don't you spend the weekend thinking about Monday? I spend, well, a little bit. I spend Sundays mostly thinking about Monday. Friday and Saturdays, I will learn to appreciate them much more. It's like my vacation. I just got off my summer vacation. I spent the first half of the vacation trying to get used to the fact that I'm on a vacation. Trying. And it doesn't help that my boss, every single vacation, he calls me during the first half of my vacation. And the second half of my vacation is not looking forward to getting back to work, so I never really enjoy myself, which is why I always love to go abroad, because then I can feel like, oh, now they can't reach me, work can't reach me or anything, even if they wanted to call me back, I'm abroad now. Let's see, we will walk forward. That's a good idea, isn't it? We walk forward. We have to follow the road. Ooh, that looks even creepier. You begin walking down the road. After a few minutes, you see a bright light down the road. Fog? If it is fog, then that can bright up a lot. It can light up a lot. What do? Feels like a Little Hope story here. Do we continue forward or do we walk back to the car and wait? Walking back to the car and waiting, we probably left our wife and 2 children. But at the same time, going back wouldn't do anything else than checking if they are okay. So I feel we should follow through and continue forward. What do you think? We may want to die as soon as possible, so why die as soon as possible? Is that your only criteria for going forward? You should play Silent Hill 2 sometime. I guess it is the best title to get into the franchise, as it is pretty independent. So, and now I will shut up so you can make some progress. You shut up? What about me? I keep rambling a lot. You're not even... I love reading your in-depth comments always, and your recommendation, of course. And on the subject of recommending me a game, you recommended me No, it's not called Don't Knock. It's called Knock Knock. And for your information, I finished it. At least one of the endings. It's drove me a little bit of cuckoo and insane. But I finished it, and I did finish edit the first episode, but I want to finish editing all of it before I start uploading that particular series. But yeah, so you know, that game that you recommended me, I managed to finish it. I enjoyed it, but oh, that was so stressy sometimes. Already, that was fast. I took like 2 days or something to play through it. It got more. I got more hooked on it once I started breezing through the days, if you can call it. It's not days, but it's more like hours until the morning. Started breezing more through it, but it became so. I like, how does this work? Everything I thought I knew, was not correct at all, and it's an interesting game. How long is it? You mean Knock Knock? It's a relatively short game. I don't know how long I played. I play games very slowly. I am very slow when I play games, mostly because I suck, but I also take in most of the atmosphere, and I die. But I don't think it's many episodes. I would say 6 or 7 episodes or 8 episodes, which are like 20 minutes each, maybe. Oh, Silent Hill 2. Okay. A lot of alternative scenarios. You mean in Knock Knock? I've heard that there's supposed to be maybe another different ending. I'm sophomore. Don't hold it against me like that. But anyway, forget the kids run. Sophomore. That's an American term, isn't it? United States term, or at least English-speaking term. Is that the first year or so? Pardon me, I haven't been speaking English for many years. Okay. So, do you agree? Should we continue forward? We walk down the road. After a few minutes, we see a bright light down the road. What do? We continue walking, don't we? Let's continue walking. We had a lot of thought there, didn't we? There's a gas station. Sounds like a very weak boom. You see a brightly lit gas station with 2 pumps. I'm sorry, that's very airy. You just see the gas station. You imagine there would be more pumps, but it feels a little bit uncertain that it's just 2 pumps, and this is all you see. The sign on the gas station store reads "Closed." You also see a phone booth just ahead. Yeah, especially in my country, there's gas stations are often known for being 24/7, sort of like convenience stores. But in my country, we have one gas station, one Esso, which is 24/7. All others close either 10 p.m. or at midnight. Some at midnight, but mostly at 10 p.m. or so. So you can keep fueling gas, but you can't go into the store and get something. Onward, embrace us, sweet death. Not you too. Not you too. Why does everyone think I'm gonna die? Or one of the family members that I brought with me. Did I leave them in the car? I assume we did, depending on the narrative. Hey, so what do we do? Phone booth ahead. To be honest, I think, well, walk back to the car. Walk back to the, it's gonna tear us apart, like going far away and finally, okay, let's just walk back to the car. Okay, let's use the phone booth. I feel that's the only sensible thing to do. Didn't we have a phone? Because it sounded like we had a cell phone with us, like call someone. Did we leave that phone in the car? They'll be dead once we go back. Or missing. Use the phone booth. I would stay out of the light. I would not want someone to watch me. At the same time, I would want help to come as soon as possible. I'm gonna use the phone booth. But we don't know how much danger we are in just yet. Ooh, that's loud. Ooh. You get in the phone booth. Oh, so it's like a stall. Yeah, those old-fashioned stalls. Last time I was in one of those in a horror game, I think, was in Inunaki Toneru from Chilla's Art. It was a yurei or something on the outside. It was not pleasant. You get into the phone booth and happen to have exact change for one call. What do? We don't even have... Do we have phone booth in this city anymore? I don't think so. Dial 911, 211, or 112. I don't know 211. I mean, in Norway, 112 is the same as 911, but in America, to my understanding, in America, 911 is the overall generic emergency number, and you from there tell that you need acute medical attention or services, or an ambulance, so to speak, or if it's a fire hazard, or if you need the police. In Norway, 112 is the number for the police exclusively. 113 is acute medical attention / ambulance. You're not allowed to say ambulance, you say acute medical attention there, and 110 for fire department. So we split them up. But if you do call 112, they can reroute you elsewhere. But in Norway, we believe those few seconds to reroute can save lives. So we have numbers from the get-go, which to call. Isn't 112 the general European emergency number? Maybe. At least in Norway, it's the police. And in Britain, I think it's 999. Is game set in Europe? Yes, according to the prologue, we are in a vacation in Europe. And we're trying to find the bed and breakfast or the hotel or something like this. And finally our rental car just stops in the middle of nowhere. So we're trying to get help, and this is where we lead us. So on cell phones, I've learned this when I was younger. On cell phones, if you dial 911, this has been coded to automatically translate into your residential countries or your current countries' emergency number. So if you call 911 in Norway on a cell phone, it will automatically transfer to 112. But if you do it on a landline like here, then I think nothing happens. I don't know when this game plays. I'm gonna go 112, as also Amuxus seems to hint towards. Rental guys sabotage our cars, so we have to pay more. Well, it sucks if this is in the middle of the night and we are... Well, let's check. Loud. After a short period of ringing, a 112 operator picks up. As you explain to her your problem in Norwegian, you hear a sharp hiss. Sparks fly out of the phone and the line goes dead. Why is that a thing? That's like always a thing in horror games, isn't it? Walk back to the car. I love how that's a option. Maybe we have to at one point. Continue walking down the road for now, I think. You continue walking past the gas station. After a few minutes, you notice a dirt road to your left. What do? Continue walking down the road, walk down the dirt road, walk back to the gas station. Gets a bit more interesting. But, and there's a big but, I still think we should walk down the main road. It's generally more lit. More people are prone to come by if we need help, like we can hitchhike or ask them, can you drive and tell people we are here? Something like a dirt road. Well, it could lead to a house somewhere. Let's go back, I'm scared. Should we go back? Should we go? Not the dirt road, not during the night. Very bad idea. Personal experience. I'm gonna take that into consideration. I was actually considering, should we go there? Because maybe that's the closest help we can get. They could run us over too. Yeah, this is why in Norway, particularly, like Norway is relatively far up when it comes to how do you say this in the globe, in far up in the northern hemisphere. Pardon my linguistical limited skills. Far up in the northern hemisphere, which means during the summer, the sun doesn't go down for very long. It's usually lit, lit. It's usually lit and bright, and some days in the summer the sun barely goes down, but it's still light. But in the winter, it's mostly dark. And this is why in Norway in recent years they demand that you have reflective vests in your car at all times. You always have a copy or two in your car, so when you need help and cars drive there, they will see you. Because it's very easy to not see some, especially if this is a highway of sorts. It looks like a highway considering the do not cross sign in the middle, and also the sign that we see there. I believe in America they don't use much symbols in most of the states. I might be mistaken. I think they use letters and words under signs. I was in America once in Minnesota, and the signs are usually shaped like that regardless. But in Europe, I think this sign usually means yield. So if there's like a road, a side road or something, not yield, but like it's indicating the road you are on has priority. You don't have to worry about the side roads because your road has priority. You can go first. Makes sense here with the picture that there's like a side road coming somewhere. Oh, don't mind the road, how you have priority. Don't drive someone down, but you have priority. Don't feel like you have to stop. If it's a forest road, it may lead you into the wilderness and you may plummet down a slope. Or many other things in the wilderness. But I am gonna do, well, maybe Stop the Meta is one of the people we left in the car. That's why we should return, because Stop the Meta is afraid in the car. Because it was a family trip, wasn't it? Let's go back to Meta. Let's see if Meta is still alive, huh? Oh, we can't walk back to the gas station first, okay? See, this is what we had. Walk back to the car. Oh, come on! Don't give us that bad sad face. We're going back to you now. I forgot to take you with me. I'm sorry. Oh, that loud bang! You walk back to the car. Upon arriving, you find that the car is empty. The car is empty and your family is nowhere to be seen. What happened, Meta? Only you know, don't you? Did you exit the car and go the other way? Dude, they kidnapped me. Yeah. Maybe. You walk back to the car, but yeah, you find that the car is empty and your family is nowhere to be seen. Retry. So, oh, hopla, hopla. That was not what I wanted to do. My bad. Retry. You, your wife, and your 2 kids. Okay, yeah. Let's go to where we were. Now we are back here. So, Luxus says that we shouldn't walk down the dirt road. I actually agree, we should stay on the main road. Maybe calling 112 was a trap. I don't think it's a highway though. Not a highway per se. Yeah, maybe I used the wrong word. Maybe like a main road instead. Like especially in Norway, we have like what we call a main road is usually slightly wider than any road. But it looks like a main road going through a district to another, but not like a highway. I probably used the wrong word there. So let's continue walking down the road, shall we? Remember, little Reddy, stranger danger. You continue walking and see an old police car on the side of the road. What do you do? I wouldn't inspect the police car too much. What if the police guy is taking a piss in the forest or something and thinking that we're trying to intrude in his car or so? At home we would call this a federal road. Oh yeah, I think in Norway we call this I think in Norway we would even call this a Europe road. We have like a county road, I think it's called, and a Europe road. The cops are kidnappers too. Inspect the police car. Let's just do that. Well, it looks like we're inside the car, not just inspecting it. You walk towards the police car to get a better look. The car is vacant. There is a small blood stain on the passenger side seat, and the keys are still in the ignition. What do you do? If there wasn't due to the blood, this would be largely unspectacular, like maybe just the police investigating noise or a rumor or whatnot, but a blood stain on the passenger side seat in a police car. Also, where in Europe is this? The driving wheel is on the right side. I didn't get the impression that this would be in England. And it could be Sweden, because Sweden used to drive on the left side of the road a long time ago. But I don't know when this plays. Looks like this takes place in England, judging by where the wheel is. Yeah, you were on the same thought process as me, because I don't think there were any other countries in Europe that does this. I think there's on a worldwide basis, there used to be Sweden, but not anymore. Imagine when you drove from Norway to Sweden, you're just what do they do? There's England, I believe Australia, Japan for sure. There are not many countries compared to those who drive on the right side. They have cell phones in this time, so maybe not Sweden. Yeah, good point. The cell phone which we seem to leave in the car. We should have brought the family with us and took the police car. We would get a problem explaining something that when we get stopped. But what do we do? Do we get in the car and start the engine? Maybe the policeman runs after us. If this is England, then it's not like America where they largely carry guns. England is a lot like Norway, where they are not allowed to carry guns just like that. So they wouldn't be shooting us. You could try getting your family and sit inside a police car and drive home. Well, the other option is continue walking out. So getting in the police car now and driving back, you mean? Let's try that. Let's steal it. We're gonna die anyway. Just salty that you died back there and I didn't the first time around, aren't you? Okay, I'm coming back to pick you up now. Ow. Ow. You get in the car and start the engine. What do you do? Pull out onto the road is the only option we have. As you pull out onto the roads, oncoming headlights blur your vision. What do you do? Accept your fate? Never. Instinct mode. Reverse. Try to reverse. Accept your fate could mean that the other car would have stopped. It takes two to cause an accident. I didn't think that through. You put the car into reverse, but it's too late. The oncoming car is too fast. Okay, yeah, there we go. The impact kills you and the driver out of the other car instantly. Judging by how fatal that is, I think that you are correct. We would have probably been run over. Dang! If the impact from the car kills us, we would be sent flying far away if we were not in that car. You abandoned me. Let's retry again. Let's call for help on our cell phone. That's a big cell phone. I got myself the Asus Zenfone 8. Newest processor, the Snapdragon 888. Very, very powerful phone. Fits neatly in my hand. No problem. I think it's the smallest flagship-esque phone there is. And then there's this. I could never hold a phone like this. And that's quite some brightness. Gonna drain the battery quite a bit. You try to call for help, but you and your wife's cell phones have no service. What do? Let's wait in the car. Let's see what happens. Now we can die together. No, I'm not gonna die. An hour goes by and nothing happens. What do? Something doesn't want to do something while we are together. Or maybe our wife and children just left because we weren't there, like, oh, we don't want to be here alone. Let's look for help as well. You never know. It says game over, but you never know. It doesn't mean that they're dead. Let's wait. I don't want to be kidnapped again. Yeah. Let's wait together. Continue waiting. Another hour passes. And well, I guess as it wasn't a sudden stop, it was a rolling stop, so we probably rolled up a little bit to the side. Although a car could still hit us. It looks like it's not too dark though. You can see in the silhouette in the background, like it's like what it was 9 in the night. Depends where in Europe we are. If we are in England, it is possible that it's still a little bit of a sundown, which is what you probably see here. You can see a little bit of light coming through. Another hour passes. Just when you're about to fall asleep, an old grandfatherly man pulls up beside you in a grey SUV. He offers to drive you and your family to the nearest town down the road. What do? I would say accept this offer and go with him, because politely decline his offer and continue waiting. What are we waiting for then? Sunrise? Which I guess would make sense as well, but I have a feeling these forests are haunted. Also, this might just be me. But take a very close look at this picture in the background. Follow your gaze north of the car and then slightly to the left. Doesn't that look like the silhouette of some sort of yeti walking towards the car? Is that just me? It could just be the trees, but it looks like a little shape of a yeti coming out of the woods slowly. Maybe that's just me. Let's wait. I don't want to waking up. No phone service. They are in Austria. All right. Austria. Yeah, I've heard the same thing about Germany as well. Certain parts of Germany. Decline his offer. He'll drag us and torture us. Maybe it's a Teletubby. You wouldn't like a game called Slendytubbies, which is like a mix between Slenderman and Teletubbies. It's multiplayer as well. So are we both does everyone agree that we should decline the offer? I still wonder if we should accept the offer. Like, an old grandfatherly man. Like, really, an old grandfatherly man, is he really gonna drug us and torture us? You never know. I mean, anything can happen. If we pay them Nisha the Dark Descent, we know what elderly man can do. Hopefully the man is not the kidnapper. I mean, we can try. Try going with him, you mean? We died twice already. You died twice, I just retried. No, okay, yeah, I did die at least once with the car reversing. No. Okay, let's accept this offer and go with him, because I don't know, politically decline means we are safe. You know, this once I'm gonna stay. I'm actually gonna stay in the car. This once. But we are gonna go back to this offer. We are gonna go back to this offer. But for now, I want to make sure that Meta feels safe. You poor fella. No drug is gonna... Oh. After hours of waiting, you fall into a deep sleep. The void accepts your offer and you never wake up. It is a cursed forest. It is a cursed forest. Well, now you're happy because we died together, I guess. That looks... It looks cool. At first I thought, was it like a moon eclipse? Isn't that what they call it? Or is it a solar eclipse when the moon goes in front of the sun? Well, it's night time anyway, but it also looks a bit like a black hole. Which I guess you could call a void. So let's retry then. Okay, let's go back to where we were. Call for help on the cell phone, and then we wait in the car because we can't get anything. Continue waiting. And now we accept this old grandfatherly man's offer. Plot twist, the grandfatherly man was a spirit of the forest. It's funny you should call it that. I was... when we had like a sleepover at an island around here, there was a haunted island during primary school. We were in a hotel on this tiny little island in the North Sea. It's called Røvær, I believe it was. And he went from room to room in this little mini hotel, telling because we were like 4 students per room, 4 pupils, and he told a story about him and his friend walking in the forest far, far away as tourists, and they got lost, and they didn't know where to go, and they thought they would like never find their way back. He claimed it was a real story, but even if it's not, it's a bit airy, and they didn't know what to do. This was before a time when you had cell phones. I was maybe like 8 years old at the time, so we didn't really have cell phones. At least it wasn't a common thing back then. And suddenly they saw a couple walking ahead of them, and they just followed the couple. And because the comfort of like, oh, someone else is out, we're just gonna follow them because then we have to be able to get somewhere, right? They were in the middle of the forest, couldn't find anywhere, just this weird path, and they followed. And they got back to society, and suddenly the couple just vanished out of thin air. So sort of as if they were spirits of the forest. Oh, hello, Alex. Didn't realize the Bendy stream ended. I'm back. Oh, welcome back, Alex. It's one of these text games that I found. Now, accept this man's offer and go with him. You get in the passenger seat, and Meta gets in the back. The Meta is currently the collective of wife and kids. What has this turned into? After a few minutes of driving, the old man grows quiet and begins to accelerate. Maybe he is a spirit of the forest, but or a demon of the forest even. This whole forest seems haunted. I'm actually writing a choose your own adventure at the moment, funnily enough. Oh, something like this, you mean? Cool, I would love to try it when it's ready. You pass a highway sign indicating the speed limit is only 50 kilometers an hour. What do? Highway sign. So it is a highway? But 50 kilometers an hour is not very highway-like. Norwegian highways are at least 80. And you are not allowed to drive slower than 60 at any rate, from my understanding. I tried to open the door. Why not ask him to slow down? Okay, this is the guy who killed us before. Oh, I didn't even consider that. Maybe begins to accelerate, grows quiet. It sounds a little bit maybe he falls asleep or something. It's relatively late, and elderly people commonly get tired earlier. Is my impression. Of course, people are different, but they commonly get tired earlier. And how it grows quiet and begins to accelerate. You know what? Ask him to slow down. I believe is if this is the case that he's falling asleep, then asking him to slow down will have nothing happening for a few seconds, which will be enough to crash. So I vote for try opening the door. Under any other circumstances, I would ask him to slow down instead, but the more I think about it, he must have fallen asleep. It's like, the first I thought it's like a nightmarish creature that just accelerates. Like in Nightmare on Elm Street, one of the, like, I don't know, the 5th or 6th movie, where there's a school bus that becomes a living nightmare and they just accelerate and even drive off the road. That's the hope. I'm writing the prologue and we'll get people to test it out for feedback, etc. I would love to try it. If you're willing to let me try it, I would love to try it. If he's gonna crash the police car, then we gotta get GTFO. Okay, we will GTFO. Or TTOTD. Try to open the door. You try to open the door, but it won't budge. The lock is jammed. The old man looks away from the road and faces you. So he's not asleep. He's not asleep. This is the one scenario where this would be the best thing to do. Otherwise he would be dead. But now that this scenario is out of the way, I wouldn't have picked this then. The old man looks away from the road and faces you. His eyes are black as night. He is a demon. Black as night, and his expression is blank. What do you do? Sit still and accept your fate. This can go both ways. If we try and force him to slow down, that could, of course, force the vehicle off-road because we're fighting over the steering wheel. But sit still and accept your fate. It could be a trick. I mean, it could be a demon who doesn't care if his physical manifestation gets smooshed into pieces as long as they take the humans with them. But you could try ringing the honk. That ought to wake him up and give him a heart attack. Yeah, the heart attack probably would be much better in this case, though. What should I do? I'm genuinely not sure here. Might be that the demon wants to take you somewhere, so it doesn't want to crash. I'm leaning a little bit to accept your fate. I mean, the doors are locked and won't budge, so slowing down, what is it gonna help? I feel this is just too big of a risk. We're gonna die. Again. Should I go for it? Should I sit still and accept my fate? I'll follow the first one I see in the chat. Let's go with 2. Let's go with 2. Okay. Ow, poor loud. That is a very loud and airy sound. Is that just concussion and death ringing in our ears? Or was this the honk that, like, his head was just resting on the honk or something? You sit still as your wife and kids begin to scream as you speed down the road, barreling towards the trees. The speed of the impact kills everyone in the vehicle instantly. There goes that theory. Well, you're not wrong, Alex. He did want to take us somewhere. It's just that this summer is not this plane of existence. We did also get an answer. They didn't fall asleep. He seemed to do this on purpose. He wanted to kill us. It's like a Final Destination road. So does this count as a death or a 3 for me? You have one more death than me. It's funny, I don't have to die. As long as one of my family members dies, then it's a game over. So technically I think you died more than me. Poor Meta, today is not your day. It's not my day at all. I want to try and see what happens if I force him to slow down. Call for help, wait in the car, continue waiting, take this offer. Ask him to slow down. You get a picture of him. You ask the old man to please slow down, but he ignores you and continues staring blankly at the road ahead. What do you do? With those blank, dark eyes. I guess it's just the same fate. Try and force him to slow down. Ah! Yeah. So loud. You try to wrestle the old man away from the wheel, but he is immovable. Your wife and kids begin to scream as you speed down the road, barreling towards the trees. Kills everyone. So I guess we do not wait for the man, but what if... Maybe all paths lead to death. What if we call for help on the cell phone and then wait? And an hour goes by and then we go out of the car. Dirt road it is, apparently. Well, there's also walk left and walk right, but let's go to the dirt road. And continue forward to... Wait, what happens if we go back to the car and wait now? Back to the car. An hour goes by and nothing happens. What do? This is the first time I go back to the car and Meta's still alive. Get out of the car. Just checking on you, Meta. Continue forward. Let's use the phone booth again. Let's dial 911 this time. After a long period of ringing, the line goes dead. What do? So, once again, maybe 911 doesn't work there. Because Europe. Once again, I don't think the landlines, at least at the time, were programmed to reroute 911 to the local emergency number. Only cell phones were supposed to do that, not landlines. You'll get shivved like that anywhere in America. Shivved as in shiv is a weapon, isn't it? Like a sharp weapon. You get killed. I had someone from Britain, my good friend Ben, coming over to Norway, and we went midnight, and maybe later even than midnight, in the wintry darkness, wintry darkness, and all up to dark forests and mountains. And he's like, can we even do this? Is this safe? It's like, yeah, not only is this Norway, it's rural Norway. Nothing happens here. Especially not if we're two. And he said, well, in Britain, you risk getting killed or attacked. And it's like, yeah, we not only do have a different society here, but we're also... I don't know, we have very low crime rates compared to other places. And it's simply too damn rural. Even the big cities are very rural in comparison to many other countries in general. Rotary phones are better than landlines, and even cell phones sometimes. Oh, how technology can subside. Excuse me, my speaking ability is diminishing. We had a rotary phone at my old house when I was a kid. They were interesting. I loved toying with those. Unplugging them and just toying with them. So thanks, bro, for checking on you. No. Continue walking down the road. Wait, let's check on meta again. Walk back to the car. You walk back to the car. Upon arriving, you find that the car is empty and your family is nowhere to be seen. Okay, so I can't really go far from the car without you dying, meta. Dang. Oi, oi, you got a ciggy? Nah, brah. Well, I ought to shiv you in the sides, shouldn't I? Yeah, because it's slang, isn't it? Slang doesn't usually have a certain way of writing anyway. It's not my fault. It's no one's fault. It's this place's fault. Get out of the car. Walk forward. Continue forward. Use the phone booth. Let's try 211. After a long period of ringing, someone picks up. You can hear muffled breathing coming from the other end. After a few seconds, the person on the phone was speaking of typos, but I'm going to ignore typos from now on wherever I can, whispers in a deep voice. I know where you are now. 211. Didn't you say there was a directional number, Umuxus? 211. I know where you are now. Isn't that what one of you said? Like, oh, we called them, so now they know where we are. And apparently 211 wasn't the best number. Hey, Rad, what was high school like for you? Was it shite as much as mine currently is? As I mentioned earlier, we have a different school system here. Are you from the US? Was that where you were from? Because high school, we have primary school for 7 years. You start primary school at 7 years old, and you're there for 7 years. Then you start secondary school, which is 3 years. And from there, if you keep going the normal school route, you do tertiary school, which is also 3 years. But in general, school did suck for me. I didn't get much mocked during primary school, but I got mocked to hell and back in secondary school. I used to be on time for classes, like, coming to school in the first place in the morning. And during what are they called? Breaks, I think they're called in English. Breaks between classes. I used to be on point and early, because you would gather outside the room. You would go to different rooms depending on which class you had. You would wait outside the room for the teacher to come in the hallway, and particularly certain people would tease me and bully me, and I wouldn't want them to have the time to do this. So I would try to time to come there just as the teacher would open the door so everyone could go in and start class, and just being there a few seconds early was blah, so to speak. So I started coming to school late for that reason, and I still struggle with this. And I do dream about school, secondary school and tertiary school, averagely between one and several times a week, where I try to find out which class I'm supposed to go to. Everything is hell. I still dream about it, so obviously I was a bit scarred by it. Of course, life is much better now, but it does take me back. School sucked for me, UK. I'm from Texas, remember? Ah, okay, yeah, right. So you're the one I asked about Texas German, wasn't it? And you talked to me about there was a place where you could go to practice a lot of that. Cowboys and guns, squirrels, weird folk. It's not, I wouldn't say weird folk, but then again, American culture in general, America. There's different culture depending on which state you go to, I suppose. But in general, you do share culture trans borders to other states as well. But I had a lot of culture shock when I went to America the first time. I went to Minnesota, and Minnesota is considered to be the most Norwegian-ish state of them all, to my knowledge. With a lot of Norwegian heritage, and I had a lot of culture shock going there. It's also to my understanding that if you go to America, people will say, "Oh, I am German. No, I am Irish. I'm Norwegian," and I've come to learn that they mean that maybe they themselves have been in America and were born in America all this long, but their mother or their grandfather or their tip old grandmother was from Norway, which I respect a bit more now that I know what they mean. But at the time, when I went to Minnesota, everyone was like, "Oh, I'm Norwegian," and I found it was amazing because I barely spoke a word English, and it's like finally I can connect with someone, and I can feel a bit more at home with culture, with language, being able to communicate properly. And it turns out it seems to be just an ordinary American because they're accustomed to American culture, American language, and I still struggled understanding them. And when I start to speak Norwegian with them, no one understands anything. Because when Norwegians say you are Norwegian, we usually refer to, for example, born and raised in Norway, full ethnicity Norwegian. But yeah, I'm rambling. I know. I'm always on time. School itself is not so bad. Schoolmates, now that's a different story. School was also a bit one of the reasons why I have nightmares. It's not just because I kept being mocked and all, but also because I don't know why I was so overwhelmed after a certain point of time when we changed school from primary school to secondary school. There was so much we had to go through, so much more classes than before, and I lost more or less all my friends. I was grouped with a lot of people I didn't know because several primary schools merged into one secondary school. And I would struggle to where in the building am I supposed to be now? Which class am I supposed to be in now? I was a little bit of a troubled child, and this reflects in my current dreams, where in my waking state right now I wouldn't really have a problem. I'm a working man. But in my dreams I revert back to the state of mind where I see like a timetable of where I'm supposed to be when, and I can't figure it out because the dream forces me to not be able to figure it out. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Do I try this door? Am I supposed to be here? Oh no, that was a different class. I don't know anyone in there. Now they look weird at me. Let's try this other door. I don't know where I'm supposed to be. This is hell, and that it feels like it goes on forever and forever. And I'm very bad at explaining. I'm sorry, but I guess maybe you get the gist of it. This is also part of my nightmares of school and all, which I do have to this day, but not as much as earlier. Maybe once a week. Being an army brat meant I missed out on modules and missed stuff when we moved schools. I guess once you drop out a little bit of school, like you miss a class, then you feel like you're far behind, and it's not always easy to ask the teacher because the teacher has moved on to a different subject and you're just expected to know it. I missed remedial French that is taught during the last primary school year. Luckily we didn't have to learn different language at school in the primary school. We started learning English, like just basic, not conversational English, but just some words here and there. When we were 10, we started learning some basic English phrases, I believe. But I watched a lot of English cartoons, and so that's what I don't remember anything from school when it comes to this. Like in Norwegian, you have two written forms of Norwegian, which we are forced to learn. We had enough of that. That's like 2 or 3 classes, just this. It's a deep subject. And then my secondary school French teacher just didn't care, so I learned German instead. German is generally, for many at least, a safer route, because French is more like a Latin-based language, and German is Germanic. English is. English and German are both West Germanic languages, whereas Norwegian is a North Germanic language. And Norwegian is being my mother tongue. Do you know what an apothecary is? Chemist, water that isn't bottled? Well, I do. I find European culture rather fascinating. It took me a long time to learn the word pharmacy. Apothecary, I guess, is someone who does. Like chemist, yeah. Like you wouldn't see the name you wouldn't see the name pharmacy in Norwegian, in Norway, when we wanted to go get pills for something, or painkillers or prescriptions. It's actually called an apotek. That's a pharmacy in Norwegian. So that's why I suppose apothecary is someone who does either medicine stuff or maybe chemist. I think the only reason I did okay in school is because I was bullied, so I focused on my education. That's a very nice outcome, actually. Trying, like, extra motivation to just make it through. People who bully are... And not all of them are necessarily bad people, they just have weird focus in life. But obviously some of those are also bad people and grow to be terrible people. But what doesn't kill us seems to make us stronger. I'm still here. Would be nice to have my ADHD known, though. Did you guys take any foreign language? We were forced to start doing foreign languages in primary school. With English. We struggled conversational English, though, but during primary school we learned some basic phrases and so of English. And during secondary school we were forced to go to classes for either French or German. And I picked German because we had a German channel. We weren't supposed to have a German channel. We had a satellite system which was supposed to get in a lot of Norwegian channels, but it broke down and never really worked, and we stopped paying for it, but we kept getting in weird signals, and that ended up being German channels and one English channel, one Cartoon Network channel. That's the beginning of my English journey. And I'm there was some bias since I lived in Germany too. I've been learning Spanish more recently. I've heard of that. How does that go? And it's really different. Really fun so far. Spanish, I believe English is the most spoken language worldwide, but when it comes to native speakers, I think Mandarin Chinese is on the top list, followed by Spanish, and then having English as a third or fourth spot. I think third spot by native speakers. But English has undoubtedly become the linguistic franca, or what is it called, the world language, which Latin was at one point, I guess. Unfortunately, during secondary school, all they offer you is the field of foreign languages here. All they offer you in the field of foreign languages here is English. In gymnasium or the likes, you might be able to learn either French or Spanish. In the gymnasium, which is the tertiary school here, we were you could either do basic German and French, the same as a secondary, like you can read, start if you felt you didn't get enough out of it, or deeper classes that builds upon what you had in secondary school of French or German. Or there was one class that combined French, German, and a little bit of Spanish, which was like a test thing. I got a top grade in German. My girlfriend, who is German, I sometimes tell her why is because German has a bit more complex grammar than Norwegian and English, like rules But like English and Norwegian are considered to be level 1 languages, but German is considered to be a level 2 language, mostly because of all its cases and grammar and all. And I tell her, she obviously knows the phrases and all, but she doesn't know why it has those endings and those prepositions and so on. I say, that's like an accusative preposition which has this and this ending under those circumstances and yada yada yada. Because I know the theory of it all, but if I struggle speaking German because I have to like make up the rules like, okay, you have this preposition which leads to this ending if it is a masculine noun, for example. What I find interesting is that in some places I, unlike America, means boo in some places rather than being cherry way of praising people. I also means yes, doesn't it? Always wanted to learn Slavic languages. I checked out a little bit of Cyrillic, as you maybe saw in one of my videos. Slavic languages have a lot of loanwords occasionally, but it's a bit hard because you take a letter which you already know, like B, for example, the letter B in Cyrillic, which many Slavic languages like Russian utilize. B means V, for example, and the reverse N means I, and the P means R. So you sort of have to rewire your brain. It's not like learning Japanese or Chinese where you have completely new symbols that you fuel into your brain. No, with Cyrillic, you have to rewire your brain into a letter you already know now means something else, which can be equally hard or even harder. I only know an adequate amount of German and an insignificant amount of Spanish. Oh yeah, because Texas German, right? And Spanish, I guess, it's spoken a lot in the States, to my understanding, and also with Texas being relatively close to Mexico as well. Wasn't Texas previously Mexican territory at one point, wasn't it? And of course, when I try to speak Spanish, my friend, they chuckle at my British accent. Practice makes perfect. You'll probably never get rid of an accent, but that's also part of the charm. I struggle making content. For a while, I felt so awkward recording content on YouTube because of my accent. I was considering merely just switching over to doing content in Norwegian, but I felt it broke with immersion because most games are only offered in English anyway. And I grow used to the English language more and more. I basically use YouTube as an excuse to practice my English. It's one of the reasons why I do my YouTube channel. So I like languages, and English is no exception. So I use it as an excuse. Like if you check out a video from, I still have a terrible accent. I don't have a stereotypical Norwegian accent. Only the Eastern Norwegians have a typical Norwegian accent. The Western Norwegians, like myself, have more like an indistinct accent, which you usually can't place. You can't always say that, oh, it's a Norwegian accent or it's a Scandinavian accent. Those are reserved for the Eastern Norwegians usually. But if you check a video from like several years ago, you could hear, like, I would struggle so much. I would not be as fluent. I'm not going to say I'm particularly fluent right now, but I'm not as fluent as I am now. And I even cringe at my own accent. Quite a bit of a rambling spree here, isn't it? ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien. ¿Y tú? You're doing really well, Red. I like your videos a lot. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate them. I am glad that, like, if I also make videos for myself. That's one of the main reasons. It's very nice to have someone appreciate the videos and someone who genuinely likes watching through my videos, I am sort of sharing my adventures, but I also make them a lot for myself. If I didn't make them for myself in mind as one of the main reasons, I would probably quit a long time ago, which many sadly do. Many sadly do. Many think just about growth. And I have had some periods of my YouTube career where I have been considering, like, oh, this is so tiresome. Should I even go on? And I constantly remind me of, I'm actually doing this for myself. It's fun to, like, I wouldn't even dare to play horror games if I didn't record them in the first place. It's one way to force myself to play horror games, and I can revisit my videos earlier. Like, I revisited my Amnesia, what's it called? This Amnesia customer story from 2014. God, it's almost 10 years ago. I forgot. It's one of my first videos on the channel, and it felt like watching someone I once dear knew. I only remembered key things about the Let's Play, but it was so cool to watch myself play it. And I had to tell myself all the time, that's me playing that. And I, instead of just having those few fond memories, those very, very few fond memories of this custom story game, with basically a modded version of Amnesia with a different story and lore, I could watch the entire experience again of me playing it. It felt really cool. I was sort of different back then, but I agree with I was sort of my own fan. It sounds very weird when I say it like this. But yeah, I make them a bit for myself so I can review, instead of replaying a game later and over again. I can watch myself play it and feel just as I did back then. It brings me back to how I felt as well when I played it the first time. It's a really cool experience, I feel. I really need to brush up my Spanish. I've not done Duolingo lessons in some time. Duolingo is quite nice. You can learn a lot of languages there. It's free, if you don't mind ads. And it has a lot of languages. Even some fictional languages. Oh god, I only remember so much. Bueno. Bueno means good, doesn't it? Accents enrich a language, if you ask me. And no, this is not because I can barely speak a sentence of my own mother tongue in written script without stumbling. Accents set one apart, I realized, and I keep telling people this on Reddit, that there keep being people posting on Let's Play forums and YouTube forums saying, like, I don't know if I should do it in English. I'm so worried about my accent that I tell them, just don't think about it. Just keep doing it. Practice. Just start doing the video session, and it will fall natural to you throughout the session. That's what it did with me. And now I can start playing a game. I just start recording and play a game. And I have no warm-up period when it comes to linguisticals, like speaking, worrying about my accent. It just works. It just works. Earlier in time, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 4 years ago, it would take me like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes before I started feeling somewhat fluent. Like, it just felt awkward talking in another foreign language, which English is to me. So I tell people, don't worry, just go in there and just, as long as I practice, make it feel that, like, you practice, pronounce things as well as you can to your best of efforts. Try to not mumble too much. Like, don't worry about your accent. If people can understand you, it sets you apart from others. It can be a nice characteristics. I've heard of people who hate accents and non-native speakers, but there's also a very large group who prefer it. And some people telling me my accent is soothing, which I'll take as a compliment. And thank you. I do the cheesiest British accent. I don't tend to watch my videos back much, to be honest. Although I'm definitely happier with my more recent videos. Pretty much all European accents sound really nice to me, to be honest, so it really doesn't matter. Alright, I've completely forgotten about the game. I'm sorry for the rambling spree. Let's see. I'm pretty sure Meta isn't alive by this point. We left Meta in the car. I think a British accent sounds quite provocative, if you catch my drift. One thing I find interesting is that the British seem to be antagonized. If you take, I'm not sure if this is the best example, but if you take Disney movies, then people who speak either a British accent or a mid-Atlantic accent, they are usually the villain. Like, take Scar, for example. I'm not sure if Scar speaks a proper British accent, but it's somewhere in that zone, I think, and he's the villain. And you have Cruella de Vil, who I believe spoke with a mid-transatlantic, I can't speak, it's too late for me, mid-transatlantic accent, which is like half British, half American. She's the villain. And most Disney villains are speaking in a British variant of an accent. At this point, Meta probably went to the next gas station, brought a can of gasoline, and drove off by himself by now. So I am the new Meta. I am the one who's gonna die. Us Brits are the sexy villains. Us Brits are the sexy villains. Let's see. Continue walking down the road. Let's... Oh, Jeff, what the fuck? I love the accept your fate. Whenever I see accept your fate, I feel that there's nothing I can do anyway. Austin Power Incarnate. Well, I would accept your fate. If we accept our fate, if this was a normal situation, hands up, they would rob us. They wouldn't shoot us. We wouldn't escalate the situation in any way. They wouldn't shoot us. They would get what they need and run off. But fight them. That can go both ways. Fight. 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 Oh god, imagine how long he waited. He's probably gonna shoot me due to wasting all his evening here. While I was talking, we were talking about languages and all. He was just sitting out there like... Okay. Okay, we have one vote for fight, and we have one vote for reasoning with them. We need more votes. What should we do? One for fight and one for reasoning. Which one will win? I wanted to yell fight, you should reason. Oh. Okay, 2 votes for reason. I was so close to one for accept and one for fight. That's me coming. That's me coming back after waiting for so long. Don't shoot me. Why would you shoot me? Okay, we have 2 for reason. Let's go reason. This is the same sound that happened in the crash. I guess this is like a violent death. That is rough. Okay, we still have Umuxus go to that one path. Let's go to that one path. Get out of the car. Forward. Forward. Continue walking past the gas station. It's whether we would call someone and they say, like, oh, we know where you are. I hope this thing isn't timed. Maybe fight was the way. If I get in the same situation, I will walk down the dirt road. The road you didn't want to go in, Muxus, at the first, but here we go. Where is my Boris X Red fan art? I paid good money for that. Oh no. Not the fan art. It half looks like someone is hanging upside down on the left side of the picture. You remember when I said that it looks like someone, like a Bigfoot or something is coming out of the forest, like a Yeti. Wet pod? What is a wet pod? I think I missed something. Yeah, we died, Alex. Someone, just as we exited the phone booth, someone pointed a gun at us. We tried to reason with them and shot us. Oh, you mean this? That got you interested, Alex. It's complicated. It's yeah, it's complicated. Let's just say that we had each other's backs. Just ask him. Because I can art. You wouldn't, Alex. Enter Rule 34. Is it too late to run? Okay, you walk down the dirt road. After a few minutes, you see what looks to be a body of water, it said, but I just read body, and yeah, it looks like a body on the left side hanging down. What looks to be a body of water at the end of the road. Why would it just be a road going to the body of water? Well, I guess for a fishing site or something, but still. Continue walking down the road or back to the main highway. What do you guys say? Should we back out or should we continue down? A full-on romantic one-on-one relationship with provocative implications, and yeah, this is the dirt road. I think this demonic forest and sight is making your mind do things frisky. This place is truly haunted. Do we become the spirit of the forest at the end of this? If we survive long enough, maybe. Let's continue walking down, shall we? I'd say stay away from the highway for now. It seems to be the cause of all evil. We thought it would be the safest place, but it seems to be the cause of all evil indeed. Let's continue walking down the road, even though it seems to lead to the water, but maybe we can continue past. Also, we could go to the right, left or right instead of follow down the road once we exited the car. Let's keep that in mind. Reminds me of a game I played recently called Paperman or something. I didn't upload that, I think. Yet. You see a large glistening lake with a house on the opposite shore. What do? Jump in the lake and swim to the house to look for help. I have a feeling something's gonna happen. Walk back to, well, we don't want to walk back to the main highway, but I feel this is another death. Did we try the third number at the gas station? No, yeah, we did. And there was a noise that said, "We know where you are." And this guy with the pistol was right outside waiting for us. Okay, let's jump in the lake and swim for the house to look for help. You take off your clothes and jump into the water. Just as you're about to reach the house on the shore, something grabs your ankle and pulls you under. What do? Accept your fate? What the fuck? In which world would accept your fate be a good thing here? In which world? Out of all these scenarios so far, this would be the worst. This would be the worst. And you can't convince me otherwise. Unless maybe if it's like the terrain sinking you down, then maybe you can accelerate it by fighting, but no, something grabs. It's not a plant or anything. Did we try the third number? Mermaid's gonna get ya. Apparently. I'm dead back at the car anyway. Mela doesn't care. drowning is said to be one of the most horrible ways to go. But at the same time, it's said that once water reaches your lungs, you pass out instantly. But it's supposed to be very painful. But if it's done then maybe it's not that bad, I don't know. I almost drowned as a kid, at least temporary. I was at a beach, a swimming site, like a lake nearby, not really a beach, with my friend when I was like 9 years old. And a friend of mine who could be, like, all of the class was basically friends back at primary school, more or less. He could be an asshole at times, though. We were near the beach-like area, not far out, and my friend suddenly pushes me under the water and sits on me so I cannot push myself up. And this was probably for like just 5 seconds or 6 seconds in total, but it felt like 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Life went before my eyes. I couldn't push anymore, and I just lay down there and I just looked at the rock underneath the water, and I thought, is this really how I'm supposed to die? I'm too young. I don't want to die now, but it seems like this is the way to die. I don't see a way out of this. And I specifically remember just, okay, I can't hold my breath anymore. I'm just going to inhale. And just as I inhaled, my head was pulled up. Just as I inhaled. And I was coughing for like 10 minutes straight after that. Just running to shore and crying. Because my friend was like, why isn't he coming out? Like, did he just pull me up because he got scared? But that could have gone very bad. Very bad. Quick. But that's, of course, that scared me for a while. An octopus. Must have been a very big octopus. I don't think those exist in Europe. Maybe it's a neck. Oh, like a neck-in. Is drowning the worst way to die in your opinion? I don't know. I don't think so, because you do pass out very quickly. The worst way to die... Suffocating is probably one of the worst ways to die. One of them. Because they are panic-filled. So, like, imagine being hung but not snapping your neck. So as slow, being hung and the process dragging out. Because properly hanging someone these days, you die instantly because the neck snaps. But sometimes it doesn't. Especially if the people want to torture you a bit. So you suffocate instead and you just hang there. I think the worst way to die by today's standard is by the gas chamber, which is still practiced in... You can choose this as an execution method in the States. The States' current primary way to execute an inmate. I don't know why the US still executes people under any circumstances, being one of the few countries in the world that still executes people, but that's a whole other topic. But I believe the US currently executes people mainly by the lethal injection, which is said to be very painful and very horrible. Could possibly be one of the worst ways to go if not done properly. And the current mixtures are very experimental because it's a shortage on there's a shortage on the chemicals. So, but how can you tell? Because you're paralyzed. But there are some few states where you can choose the gas chamber still. And the gas chamber, I believe, is the worst way to go, because there are cyanide pills which dissolves in some sort of watery liquid underneath you in the chamber, and the process takes up to 15 to 20 minutes of you literally choking and your skin turning blue, and that is said to be the most horrible way to go by today's means, not counting earlier in time execution methods. I also heard the guillotine, possibly because the head can apparently be conscious for several minutes after the head is chopped off. A French doctor did a test on this. After the head was chopped off, he called the prisoner's name a few seconds after the execution, and the eyes opened and looked at the doctor. And he did it again shortly after, and it did the same. Like, looked at the direction. Not the third time, then it was gone. But imagine in that little time how much it must hurt if you can feel pain. Ugh. 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 Why are we talking about execution? Probably because I'm about to be executed myself here right now. I'm not used to so much chat. Let's see. I'm just going a little bit off just to see in case I missed something. Yeah, lungs burn. It's very slow, but technically OD is the worst way, since you can be slowly dying over 1 to 2 days while unable to do anything if no one finds you. OD is that overdose, you mean? In the meanwhile, our protagonist drowned slowly. He's meditating, burning alive. Burning would suck. I've heard that, like, for instance, like earlier witch burnings and so, being tied to a tree or being tied to a pole and burning. Apparently, from what I'm told, it's not one of the worst ways to go, because the smoke causes you to pass out very quickly before you, because the flames don't reach you yet. The flames are still on the lodges and all below you, and you pass out apparently from the smoke. I don't know how much that is true, but if you are truly in a deep paralysis state, then you might not notice as much of it. Like screaming while being burned alive, maybe it's not that as bad as people say, but that's just what I heard. Isn't being hung killing you via the spinal cord breaking? It depends who hangs you, and if they do it well. I think early, the first, in the first few eras in time of hanging, the first few methods of hanging people, I think they just hung until they stopped moving, basically. I think that was a more thing back in the old medieval days. And then they started doing the snapping thing. I think, if I remember reading in America, when they used hanging as a capital punishment, they wanted people to die quick with hanging, as opposed to torturing them, because torturing is technically against the American Constitution. Death penalty should be against the capital, the Constitution. I don't know why it isn't, because cruel and unusual punishment, I deem capital punishment as cruel and unjust punishment, and then unusual punishment, as they call it. But again, I can't speak too much about America. I'm not an American myself. I'm just too used to not having this. When I learned that America had capital punishment, I was shocked. Like, I don't care what offense has been done. I was just literally shocked that the state kills you. I thought this was a part of fiction. But it's America. It's not like my country. We wouldn't implement it here, but maybe America. It's just part of America, I guess. You couldn't just take this away overnight. It's just part of the culture, I guess. It's heated as well. It's controversial, I know. But yeah, when experimenting this, I read that when hanging people, they had they found out, okay, how heavy are you, what sort of body type do you have, how much rope, how much do you fall before it sort of catches you. And there were cases where your head just popped off because they didn't want to risk that the one who was executed would hang there and suffer, because in America, once the execution starts, you cannot stop it. You cannot cease it. You can if it takes a very long time and then they can order to stop it and then execute you at a later date if you don't already die from the damages that you got. But from to my understanding, the execution has to go on, and if you see him suffering, you can't shoot him either. They have to die by the way, like by hanging. If they're sentenced by hanging, then they have to be hanged. They can't be anything else. From the little information that I gathered. But yeah, sometimes their head would just pop off because, like, yeah, we don't want them to like struggle and choke to death slowly. But then they overdid it, and then their just heads popped off instead because they fell a little bit further than they should. Oh god, this is such a grotesque stream, isn't it? Lethal injection is the most time, although sad. Lethal injection depends, I think. It is rumored that the gas chamber takes longer, on average. But also lethal injection is supposed to be painless. It's the reason why they do this was there were a few reasons. One of the reasons is because they always have witnesses, and it's supposed to be the least amount of stress on the witnesses, but also on the executioners themselves. So if, for instance, you shoot someone with the firing squad, then there's blood everywhere and someone has to clean it up, and it's a violent sight for both, and it feels violent to the executioner, who will get like possibly mental health over time deterioration, and people who witness it. Is like, it's grotesque. And lethal injection is the most clean. It looks like it's supposed to look like the inmate falling asleep, and there's no blood or anything. It just seems the most humane, but they have found out that maybe it's among the most inhumane ways to go, because the first dosage is supposed to make you fall asleep, to a deep sleep, which doesn't seem to be the case increasingly now as time goes by. They with a new experimental cocktail, because the people who made I think it was pentothal and pentobarbital were the two drugs that they used in the first dosage to make you fall asleep. Those were European, and once the EU figured that this was going into capital punishment, they said, oh hell no, we're not participating in this barbaric methods of killing people. What are you doing? And they said, we only will sell this to America now if you can consent to and agree that this will never be used for capital punishment. Something that America was honest enough about to say that they couldn't guarantee this. Thus the EU shut us off. And now they are testing different things. Like, they're currently testing midazolam, which is supposed to be for I think epilepsy, to calm you down, but in an overdose it can cause a comatose or deep sleep. And they're using midazolam currently for the first dose, which makes you fall asleep, and then they have some sort of vancorium bromide or something which relaxes the muscles, which stops you from breathing, and then they have some sort of potassium chloride or so as the last dose, which causes an artificial heart attack, or a cardiac arrest, I think they call it. And when it doesn't paralyze fully and it doesn't fully put you to sleep, then obviously this is going to be one of the most hell experiences that you'll ever experience out of all execution methods. Being crushed would hurt. Just recalling Little Hope deaths. Oh yeah, Little Hope. Ooh. Those poor people. Is it worse than the electric chair? Electric chair... I don't know much about the electric chair. I know that it used to be much more inhumane, and then they changed that a bit to that they changed the intervals or something and the voltages. But I'm not sure. But that was a big toll on the executioners because they would defecate themselves and they would stink a lot. Not just because of things exiting orifices, but they would bleed through everything. That they would start bleeding from the orifices as well. And just imagine skin being burnt to the seats and all, and you have to clean this after every time. So the electric chair was supposed to be a humane way to go, but I don't really know if that was really as humane as they wanted it to be. Probably more humane than hanging, I don't know. Not if you hang it properly. Japan still uses hanging as their primary method. That's just the nerve still firing. Once the spinal column is cut, you're looking at seconds. Okay, so the guillotine, yeah. If you dropped from a height, your neck will break instantly. It is just removing a stool. You're just hanging and waiting. Yeah. Well, they still had, like in the early days when America was still preferring to use hanging. I read studies that showed, or text that said that they would sometimes snap the neck because they made the rope too long or something. Because they wanted to make it. I don't know. I do a lot of weird research for writing. I researched all of the torture method for amnesia at one point. I think that will give me quite a lot of insight for my analytical series when that goes there. I'm getting tortured in a car. Ah, yeah, the game. Rad's phone can't make calls but receives weird conversations from the ether. That wasn't my phone. That was the phone from the gas station. That was a landline phone. Jesus Christ, this is depressing. Great way to start our week. Whatever makes you sleep better at night, I suppose. Oh, how did we even get into capital punishment and all? You started talking about torture. I see the topic's not changed. That's a way for inmates to take revenge. Okay, so we talked about torture methods for better or for worse. We've been. It seems that drowning in water is the execution method which takes the longest time because we're still drowning and have been drowning for quite a long time. Okay, we will fight back. You kick and flail as hard as you can, but the creature drags you down and drowns you at the bottom of the lake. It's late at night, the perfect time for having weird conversations during a live stream. While our protagonist is still drowning. How did you get from high school to Rad X Boris? Fanfiction, the criminal execution method. It's probably this forest. I blame this forest. We can all blame this forest. This forest is doing this. This forest is making us have weird conversations while the protagonist is dying. While I am dying. Okay, get out of the car. Walk left. Walk left. You begin walking to your left into the forest. After a few minutes, you spot something on the ground that appears to be a body. What do? Inspect the body. That's just normal afternoon when you have ADHD. We should have stayed at the Rad Explorers topic. Why is this interesting now? Seamless transition, if you ask me. Also, if you really want a dark game with a happy twist like my personality, then try the game We Happy Few sometime. I tried a little bit of it. Actually, I have some footage of it from years back when it was in alpha or so. But then I started watching Markiplier play quite a big chunk of it. But that was many, many years ago. So maybe I should try it. I do have it. Inspect the body. It looks like a mannequin. Upon inspecting the body, you find it's just a female mannequin covered in moss and leaves. What do? Continue forward. You continue walking forward through the forest. After a couple minutes, you stop and see a tall figure standing just in front of you behind a group of trees. Group. The thing about English, if there's a spelling mistake, then I don't always understand it. I think it's a word, because English is a clusterfuck. I like to mock the English language, saying that English is not a language by itself, it's just a collective of words and grammar from other languages. Because take any word from any other language and you'll probably find it in the English language. It just absorbs into the English language as some sort of fancy loan word. So a group of trees, what do? Continue forward. See a tall figure. Yeah, you see this. It's probably a mannequin again. You can see the figure. For once they acknowledge the figure, but it looks like there are eyes there as well. To the right. Looks like eyes. Tiny, tiny eyes. Maybe it's just me. We are an abomination. What? Ooh, looky here. You walk towards the figure and discover it's just an old scarecrow. Just beyond the scarecrow, you see an old cabin. What do? Well, we're not going to walk back to the car, we go inside. Inside the cabin, you see a small desk with a phone on it, a bed with a stained mattress, and an old rusty metal bucket filled with some kind of red liquid. What do? A top abomination. Say, monster in the lake, psychotic old men in cars, armed robbers on gas stations. What's up with this forest? It's haunted. It's not just haunted, it's hell. Imagine if everyone spoke the same language. Then you couldn't say things about people without them knowing. Maybe English becomes such a language in the future. Globalization. Use the phone. You pick up the old phone, but there's no dial tone. You then realize the phone's cord is cut. What do? Feuer, Notruf. Well, it makes sense. Maybe it is Austria. But why was it? Well, you can have foreign cars in a European country. When I was in Britain, someone drove a otherwise European car with the driver wheel on the left side, indicating the car was meant for the right side of the road. Also, the void claims us if we fall asleep. That is true. Look around the cabin for something to repair the phone card. I don't think this is a good idea, but Notruf. Notruf means emergency number. Well, emergency call, literally, but I guess they mean emergency number. And Feuer means fire in German. That would explain the creepy old man. But then you would lose individual cultures, I think. If we all spoke the same languages, that means civilization didn't independently grow and develop. I like globalization, and I also don't like it at the same time. I like having it unique. Like imagine traveling to, for instance, Japan, like, oh, time's up. The culture's gone. There's nothing interesting other than your own culture here. Like imagine everything just mending into one. Culture is interesting. Language is also part of culture. In order to properly respect and understand a culture, you also need to learn the language, or basics of the language as well, for the culture to properly translate. Look around the cabin for something to repair. Let's see. As you begin to turn around, you hear the floorboards creak. You see a tall, burly figure standing in the doorway. In one hand, they hold the bodiless head of your wife. You can see that on the picture. In their other hand, they hold a bloody axe. What do? Accept your fate. So, I drown and Meta is guillotined. This is why we talk about execution methods. It's relevant, apparently. I like rotary phones. They are better than other modern phones, surprisingly. Mechanical things often are, I feel. The fuck, so did I die or just part of me? Let's assume that Alex is correct and that you only live for a few seconds. It's Jason. I was about to say it's Jason. Maybe that's his mother or something that they're holding. Try to fight them. As you try to attack the animal figure, they cut your hand off in one swift motion. As you stare at your bloody stump, the figure drives the axe head between your eyes. Let's try again. Continue forward. Continue forward. Inside the cabin. Leave the cabin. Oh god! You close your eyes and wait. You then hear the swift sound of the axe driving down into your skull. They don't even want to keep you hostage or something. It's just a cold-blooded murderer. You live on in their hearts, madam. What about me? What about me? This is to be the Rye's last horror journey. He finally got killed, huh? Okay. Get out of the car. Let's walk to the right. It's very groovy. You begin walking to your right into the forest. After a few minutes, you spot a glimpse of a clearing just ahead. What do? It seems like right is the right way to go. Continue. Ooh, very open. You have those very, very high power lines. You continue walking forward and eventually come out of the forest into fields with power lines as far as the eye can see. What do? Continue walking into the fields. If I turn around and head back to the forest, I think we're going to see this killer. You walk further into the depths of the fields. Are you fucking kidding me? You walk forever. That's either a joke ending, or it can't really be that this force is demonic and claims your soul and you will never find peace. It does look far. Okay, let's try again. Walk right. Continue forward. Turn around and head back to the forest. You turn around to head back, but the dense, lush forest you just came from is nowhere to be seen. Only fields surrounds you now. What the fuck? At least we didn't die. Wouldn't dying be better? Walk back to the car. Demonic realm, yeah. Get out of the car. Walk forward. Continue forward. I think I've explored everything. I think so. Have you yet tried to surrender to the robber? I didn't. Let's try that. Yeah. Accept your fate. You close your eyes, the shot rings out and hits you in the head. Okay, let's try something else. Fight them. The second you move towards the assailant, a shot rings out and hits you in the head. Did you try to fight your robber? I did now. Forward. Just, let's see. Continue. Walk down the dirt road. Continue. And walk back to the main. Walk down the highway. But we didn't try continue walking down the road, did we? Something tells me this is futile, yeah. Let's try walking down the road. As you begin to walk, a pair of headlights blurs your sight. What do? Try to dodge the car. You try to jump out of the way of the oncoming car, but it's too late. You are killed instantly. So this is what Meta, what was it Meta who said that this probably would have been a thing? I don't think there's anything else we can do. Walking down. Inspect the police car. Walk. You stand still in the middle of the road. The oncoming car tries to avoid you, but it's too late. Does he now? Okay, there's one last thing I'm gonna try. This. But I think I already did this. Try to open the door. Try and force him to slow down. Yeah. Can we walk past the cabin? I don't know. Let's try. I think I tried that. Get out of the car. Walk left. Inspect the body. Continue. Continue. Only walk back to the car. Wait. Oh, you walk back to the car. Upon arriving, you find that the car is empty and Meda is nowhere to be seen. You're alright, Rad? Oh yeah, getting a little bit sleepy though. Just trying to see desperately if there's anything else I haven't explored, but I think I explored everything. So I'm just... I just Meta screwed us once again. Back. Yeah. Is it even possible to survive? Maybe not at this stage. Maybe you are doomed regardless. It would be interesting if there is a way to survive. But I don't think so. Phone booth 911. Yeah. I think that's it. Are you ever going to put your head crab hat back on? Did you see my what was it? My Happy Wheels episode? Because I think that's the only place I use my crab hat. Had crab hat from Half-Life. You watched my Happy Wheels episode, didn't you? That's old. Yes. God, that's from 2016 or something. You mean this one, right? My head grab hat. I could choose to get a head grab plush or a head grab hat, and I can basically use my head grab hat as a plush at the same time. So am I ever going to put it back on again? I don't know. If only I had it. Oh yeah. Happy Wheels. Maybe I should play that again at one point. I have a feeling I won't be able to stop laugh though. Oh, also, for the League of Legends interested, I also have a Teemo hat, which I got from Wales, which a friend helped me get. This stream just got 10% better. Teemo is one of the most hated League of Legends champions. I love him though. Understand what you're up against, and you'll beat him very easily. Basically, a champion which is very tiny, has an annoying laugh, puts poisonous mushrooms which turn invisible, which explode and slow you on impact and slowly drain your health. His attacks are poisonous, slowly drain your health, are ranged. He can blind you, he can turn invisible. What's not to hate? But again, if you know how to play against him, by playing him yourself, he's very fun. Then you know how to go against him. Now we have both. Now we have a headcrab Teemo. 1000%. Is that a 100,000 or is that 1,000,000,000%? Even that is an understatement. Oh. I also got this. I don't need this right now though. Yeah, like I used to separate my webcam footage, at the time I still was doing webcam, and audio footage and all in 2 different files, so I had to use this to synchronize. But I don't have to anymore. Chalk is coming off. And it fell. Oh well. Have you played Portal or Portal 2 before, by the way? I played Portal when it came out in the orange box package, which featured Half-Life 2 Episode 1, I think it was, and Team Fortress 2, and Portal. And I also recently played Portal 2. That ending was fantastic. I just shot the Prologue gun straight up, and then yeah, I did not expect that at all. I still prefer Half-Life 1 though. Half-Life 2 is good, but I'm more like a Half-Life 1 boy. I'm an unpopular opinion. But yeah, there you go. There you have your headcrab hat. The cake was a lie. Any mods? Swen Co-op. A lot of my childhood went into Swen Co-op, which is basically, you could play, one of the things you could do, you could play Half-Life single player mission mode online with friends and anyone else, but there were also custom maps. I looked for mods which allow you to become monsters. I love that idea, and then I misunderstood because I didn't speak English well. And I got to Swen Co-op, where you can't play as monsters, but you can play with people. I was browsing like a mod library. You can play with people. It still exists now to this day on Steam. And co-op against monsters, I think it was the only mod where you were allowed to play not only single player campaigns, but also just in general versus monsters. And they expanded on this, added lots of features. Also, Counter-Strike, not many people know this, but Counter-Strike actually runs on the Half-Life engine. Maybe not the new versions, but the old versions did. It was a mod for Half-Life, so Counter-Strike was free back in the day. It was just a custom story, not a custom story, it was a modification that you could download. And I had a server for Counter-Strike, and since it runs on the same engine as Half-Life, although Counter-Strike at least here was very popular, they only knew Counter-Strike, not Half-Life at all. But since it ran on the same engine as Half-Life and it had to load Half-Life to start the game, I just opened up a script thing which spawned enemies and zombies and helicopters and stuff like this from the Half-Life main game into the server, and they would walk around and attack Counter-Strike players, and they would confuse the hell out of them, and they wouldn't understand, like, they didn't add anything extra mods themselves on their own side, but they wouldn't have to because all the files are there. They needed Half-Life to be able to start Counter-Strike, but I don't think you have to now anymore. Okay, it's very late. Very late. I have to head to bed and get some beauty sleep. And so should all of you. Well, some of you are living in other parts of the world where it's not that late, but here it's 1 a.m. And for Alex, I guess it would be midnight right now. People have a good night. People have a good night indeed. Thank you all very much for watching. I'm not sure if this is a glitch. It claims that 5 people are concurrently watching, which is, I believe, a record for me. Which is nice. Also, I am back and forth between YouTube and Twitch when it comes to streaming. I, of course, upload all my Let's Play content to YouTube. But when it comes to streaming, I will be alternating a little bit between Twitch and YouTube. I did Perception and Bendy on YouTube specifically because the first 2 episodes of Bendy was on YouTube, back in 2016 or 2017. And the same about Perception, the original playthrough, was also on YouTube, so it only felt natural to do the reboot on YouTube as well. 5 p.m. for you, wow. That is quite literally on the other side of the world on you. But I have a few games that I want to play and possibly stream, so I will probably stream again next Friday. But yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this evening. I won't do a Halloween stream, but I will do a pre-Halloween stream at one point. Pre-Halloween stream the day before Halloween, I think. I don't know what to play though at that point, but we'll see. You mean if Twitch next Friday? I haven't decided. It depends what game I'm gonna play, if it's gonna be Twitch or YouTube. If you go to my Twitter account, I will post there. Oops. Yeah. I will post on my Twitter when I will. Hang on, that's not my account. There we go. I will post on my Twitter if I'm streaming on Twitch or on YouTube, and then I will leave a link to said channel. Actually, I can put a link to my Twitch right now if anyone's interested in that. Let's see. There we go, and there we go. Oh yeah, it's someone asked now, what is your Twitch? Yeah, I linked my Twitter and my Twitch both there. As you can see, I don't often do Twitch, but I do occasionally. I'm thinking of maybe streaming a bit more often, in general streaming. Maybe not every Friday, but I want to do it more often than before. I've been missing it. I haven't been able to stream for certain reasons, which I don't want to disclose here and now. But yeah, I really need to head off now. Getting very tired. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this rather grotesque night of execution speech and all. So have a pleasant night. Good night.